Hello, my name is Malachy O'Doherty. I'm a writer based in Belfast. This is a book which I published just a few months ago. It's being reissued in paperback shortly. It's called 50 Years On, The Troubles and the Struggle for Change in Northern Ireland. It's published by Atlantic Press in London. Um, Essentially, the point of the book is to say that many, many things changed in Northern Ireland, that there were heroes of those changes over the period that we think of as the Troubles. There was revolutionary change, social, cultural, in religious affairs, on the political scene, which had nothing to do with the armed campaigns of paramilitary organisations, nothing to do with British government interference in the affairs of the Irish people, if you see it in that way, but had much to do with feminism, with economic change, with the opening up of travel, with the emergence of rights for gay people, and many many other things. And so I just wanted to collate something of that, make some record of that transition that we'd been through in that period, and say that if we want to talk about a revolution in Ireland, a revolution in Northern Ireland over a period which was punctuated by gunfire and by explosions in the street, there was something much, much more interesting happening at that time. That's what I'm saying. So let me just read you a small bit of this. And it's from a chapter which is called The Other Revolution. Belfast on a Sunday afternoon in 1968 seemed the most unlikely place to score dope. But he had already tried Dublin and failed there. The city was insufferably bleak. All of the shops were closed, the streets were mostly deserted. The city centre had simply been vacated. It was the Sabbath, and people went to church, not to work. And after church, they sat at home and read the papers with the sensational stories about wife swapping and drug dens. Northern Ireland imagined itself to be a more debauched place than it actually was. The fantasy that it was sliding into perdition thrived only in the minds of pure and decent citizens, many of whom were confident of a place in heaven. And if the law of God didn't keep the city free from sin, then the law of the state was there in harsh support. Had the stranger been found by the police to have had as much cannabis as might be found in the roach of the joint he had smoked the night before, he could get 6 months in jail. So he had to be wary, and that was part of the reason he had had no luck so far. That and the fact that there really wasn't much dope to be had in Belfast then anyway. But suddenly, walking down Donegal Street, he happened on other hippies. The first indication was a shop window painted with sunflowers. The lights were on, and there were psychedelic posters on the walls inside, and two young men with long hair and bleary eyes were looking up to marvel at the exotic creature that was looking eagerly in at them. The two men in the shop were Colin McClelland and Arnie Knowles. They were the architects of the most vibrant part of Belfast's social scene back then. They ran the Marquee Club at the Astor. You could not call yourself cool in Belfast in 1968 if you didn't go to the Marquee. But now Colin and Arnie were about to be tested on their own cool credentials by someone who was the real thing. According to Colin, this guy tapped on the window. He looked like somebody we had never seen before. Long hair and a brocade jacket and white tight jeans. He was dressed oddly, not like anything we had seen in Belfast. And he came in and he had an English accent. The stranger said he had come from an island on the west coast of Ireland. John Lennon had an island there. He said, "I'm just looking at your place here, and I am assuming you are socially aware." The problem was that Colin and Arnie didn't have any dope, had never smoked the stuff, and were stretched to think of anywhere they could get some. We didn't want to look like rednecks, so we said, "Yes, come in and sit down, and we'll make a few phone calls." And the only person we knew who had anything to do with dope was a DJ called Dino, and there was this scramble to find Dino. Cooler guys than Colin and Arnie would simply have said, "No, we don't even have enough dope for ourselves Tell John Lennon to go and fuck off. Dry periods were well understood by people who did smoke dope, and the stranger was going through one himself, so they really had nothing to prove. But it didn't feel like that. That these were the coolest guys in town, and that they felt outclassed by the visitor, tells you a lot about how tentatively Belfast was managing the 60s. The city was changing then, and the Marquee Club was part of the change. As Colin McClelland remembered, Belfast in the mid-60s was a drab industrial city, like others in the north of England, and then suddenly, for 2 or 3 years, there was this explosion of flower power and pop music and clubs like the Marquee and the Pound. And in the middle of the greyness of Belfast, it was a really colourful episode, but then it was cut off by the advent of the Troubles. There you are. There's much more to read of this book, and so I'm giving you that sample in the hope that you'll look it up, you'll go and buy it on Amazon or from No Alibis Bookshop, or that you'll download the Kindle version and enjoy it. Look out for the paperback version. It'll be out later in the year, maybe quite soon. Things are obviously completely thrown by the virus and the anticipation of that. So, but there it is, 50 years on, The Troubles and the Struggle for Change in Northern Ireland by Malachy O'Doherty, published by Atlantic. Thank you very much for watching, and look out for more. And if you like this, do subscribe below. Thank you.